What's up, guys? Ballin With Blizzy back with another video, and today I want to talk about the players I love most in each round on Underdog Fantasy. Remember, that's half PPR scoring, and also I'm tilting this toward week 17. So I like these players all year long, but to split some ties, I'm looking at who I like best specifically for week 17 in best ball contests when all the money is won. So let's jump on over to Underdog Fantasy and take a look at round one. In round one, obviously it's a who's who of the best players in fantasy. That's why they're all going in round one. But if I have to flag plant one guy that I like season long to just have an astronomical year and specifically love his week 17 game, I'm going with Jahmyr Gibbs of the Detroit Lions. Now, obviously, the one caveat is he is sharing that backfield with David Montgomery. But down the stretch last year, we saw when Monty was out, Jahmyr Gibbs went absolutely nuclear, led fantasy skill position players with over 25 half PPR points per game, closer to 30 in full PPR. He's just a cheat code. He's young. He's getting to his prime right now. He's absolutely electric with the ball. He's going to give you explosive runs on the ground. He's going to give you explosive plays out of the backfield through the air. Jahmyr Gibbs, week 17, indoors dome game against the Vikings. What's not to love? I think he's going to have an absolutely monster year. And if I'm going to flag plant one guy in round one all season long and love his week 17 matchup, it's Jahmyr Gibbs. Scrolling down to the players who go in round two, this was a pretty tough choice for me. I know a lot of people are high on Brock Bowers. Ladd McConkey has an indoor game. Brock Bowers has an indoor game. I like both players. I think Ladd takes a little bit of a hit for me with the addition last week of Keenan Allen back to the Chargers. Brock Bowers, obviously just a grown man, but I have a little bit of concerns about the offensive environment. Obviously, he overpowered those concerns last year with bad quarterback play. This year, he gets a quarterback upgrade with Geno Smith. He does have a week 17 indoor game against the New York Giants. But my guy for week 17 this year, and guy I think that's going to have a big season all year long, give me Drake London of the Atlanta Falcons. Last year, those final stretch of games, once Michael Penix Jr. was inserted into the lineup, Drake London was targeted on a whopping 37% of his routes and averaged 3.52 yards per route run, which is just, God tier like numbers. Obviously, probably not sustainable all year long, but he showed an amazing rapport with Michael Penix Jr. and averaged over 20 half PPR points per game in that stretch run. They have a week 17 game indoors as well against a team that should push them offensively in the Los Angeles Rams. They threw at a great rate last year. Obviously, Bijan is the engine of the team, but when you're running such heavy 11 personnel 90% of the time last year under Zach Robinson, Drake London's going to have a massive year. And if he can even do 80% of what he did in that small 1 month run with Michael Penix down the stretch, he's going to have a massive year, and he's going to deliver in week 17 indoors in a game that could be a shootout. Scrolling down now to the targets that go in round three. It's kind of a messy round. I know it's been talked about a lot this year. There's not a ton of fun. You get a lot of the Arizona Cincinnati correlation. There's question marks. There's the elite quarterback debate, which I do love specifically in half PPR formats. But we'll get to that here in a later round shortly. Round three is kind of a tough one for me because my guy has been, and I'm going to say he's my guy once again, Davante Adams. But there are, of course, the questions. So if you're risk averse and you don't feel good about the Matthew Stafford spine back injury, you're not sure if he's going to play. Obviously, one of the best pure throwers of the football, can deliver it from any arm angle. He's going to stand in there in the pocket and deliver. For me, Davante Adams is going to have a massive year. Puka Nacua is going to have a massive year. But of course, if you're, again, scared about the health and the risks of Matthew Stafford, I can see you going away from Davante Adams. But for me personally, he's my guy. Showed absolutely no drop-off last year. Averaged almost 18 full PPR points last year with Aaron Rodgers in just a terrible situation, a dismal offense, and things just not going right. This year, of course, he goes into a great play caller in Sean McVay, a guy who knows how to scheme both Puka and Cooper Kupp wide open over the last several years. He's going to do the same thing for Davante Adams. And to me, if you look at Mike Clay's projections on ESPN, just outrageous projection for a number two receiver in an offense like Davante Adams. Mike Clay has him projected for 137 targets, over 90 catches, 1,171 yards, and 9 touchdowns. That's the upside that I'm playing for. I think Davante Adams is one of the still best route runners in the game. And of course, if you're following so far, he has an indoor game, week 17, no weather concerns in January. He's going to be playing in that matchup against the Falcons in the Dome in Atlanta against Drake London, who was my target for round two. Quick honorable mention, if you are scared to put all your chips in the Matthew Stafford basket this year, I'll give you Garrett Wilson. And I like Garrett Wilson because he's going to be a target dominant guy on a weaker offense, yes, but everything should flow through him. Justin Fields in 2023 supported a season with DJ Moore, 1,364 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's big time production. I think Garrett Wilson is more talented than DJ Moore. So if you want to go a different route, go against the grain of Davante Adams and not quite pull the trigger on your elite QBs at this point in the draft, Garrett Wilson is a guy I love as well. Scrolling down to round 4, guys that I like. This is where I am into the elite quarterback streets, and my guy this year is Jaden Daniels. Obviously a tough, situation. You can't really go wrong between Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts. The one thing is the Philadelphia Eagles have such a great defense. Jalen Hurts isn't pushed so much to do a ton in the fourth quarters. A lot of times it's ground and pound. A lot of times they take the air out of the football. Remember famously last year, A.J. Brown didn't even have 100 targets, over the whole course of the season, which is unheard of for him. He's over there reading the book because he just needs to, find inner peace and find out how to remain calm when numbers aren't going his way. So I'm going with Jaden Daniels. Their run game, not the best in the world. Their offensive line should be improved with the addition of Laramie Tunsil this year. Obviously, Terry McLaurin, I do expect him in uniform, but he is undergoing that contract holdout right now. So he's not in camp. He's not with the team. Or he is with the team, but he's not in camp. He's not in pads. He's not practicing. Jaden Daniels, I think, is going to be pushed to do a lot this year, even more than we saw him do in his rookie season when he paid huge returns for all those who drafted him. I love his Week 17 matchup. Yes, it is outdoors in D.C., in January, but going up against a Dallas offense that should push the Commanders because they have a bad defense, and a Dallas defense that we saw at times last year, they can get absolutely carved and give up monster games to opposing offenses. I think that game's going to be a shootout in general, a couple of bad defenses. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be pushed to do things in the fourth quarter all year long, unlike Jalen Hurts, and really to a lesser degree, even Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, who have very strong defenses, and specifically in Baltimore, they have a strong run game. I think Jaden has all 3 of those ingredients where he doesn't have a strong run game. He is going to be pushed in the fourth quarter, and he doesn't have a strong defense. So Jaden Daniels is my guy to target in round 4 this season. Moving on to round 5. This was a tough one for me. This is not really a spot I love to be in the draft, but I'm going to go out on a limb. It might be a little bit of a bold prediction because there's some really fun names. Trevion Henderson in here, Travis Hunter in here. I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle, and I'll tell you why. I think Jalen Waddle, first of all, has a ton more opportunity this year without all the schemed, gimmicky touches to Jonnu Smith. That kind of phased Jalen Waddle out down the stretch last year. He had a really poor year. They were feeding screens to Devon Achane, which is a good idea. They were feeding screens to Jonnu Smith, which I'm not so sure is a great idea. You remove Jonnu Smith, and there's, of course, the potential for Tyreek Hill to have one of his Antonio Brown moments and be off the team, be traded, get in trouble. He's really, kind of gone off the rails this offseason. I think Jalen Waddle is stepping into a ton of opportunity. They don't have a good offensive line, which isn't good for Tua's health, but I think that reduces the risk that they're able to run the ball effectively, which means they should be a heavy pass rate over expectation team. And their secondary and their defense is just bad, primarily in the secondary. They do have a good front 4, but in the secondary, when Kader Kohu being injured is a huge deal for your defense and you're bringing guys off the street. I do like Mike Hilton. I think he's past his prime. Of course, Jalen Ramsey traded to Pittsburgh. I just think that secondary is super weak. The offensive line is super weak. If Tua stays healthy, the removal of Jonnu Smith, and if Tyreek Hill is traded, moved, suspended, any of those type of things, I think Jalen Waddle is really primed to bounce back. He's in the prime of his career, still a speedster, still a demon. I think he should be able to get a lot more schemed up touches this year than he did last year. Moving on to round 6, controversial guy, Evan Silva's flag plant this year. We're going to go with Ricky Pearsall. I like Ricky Pearsall. I think having that round 1 draft capital invested into him really means that the team believes in him. Obviously, they moved on from Deebo Samuel. Obviously, Brandon Ayuk working his way back from a devastating knee injury. Juwan Jennings should be in uniform. But when you're a year 6 breakout and then he's trying to hold out for more money, I don't think he's in the future plans. I think they're going to scheme Ricky Pearsall targets this year. He's already showing great rapport with Brock Purdy in camp. I think he's really going to have a strong year. Obviously, things that are concerning is last year when he, did get fully integrated down the stretch, he had a number of abysmal games where he would have 0 or 1 catches. And then, of course, the explode game that did pay off and paid people a lot of money in Week 17 last year against Detroit. I think he has another favorable matchup, especially if he's working out of the slot this year against Chicago in Week 17. I think that has the potential to be a game where a lot of points are scored. And I think just betting on round one talent, betting on a guy who has a full off season. Last year, of course, everybody knows he got shot in the chest in that robbery in San Francisco. And so he didn't, obviously he had to rehab from that. And then he was thrown in when the wheels were already spinning on the season. Of course, CMC was out last year. Things kind of went off the rails for the Niners in general, but I think they're going to be healthy. I think they have the easiest schedule in the league this year, and I think they're really going to make him a focal point and a prime target of the passing game and Brock Purdy. Moving on to round 7, I like the Detroit Lions Week 17 matchup, so that could take us to Jordan Addison, obviously, but I'm going to say my guy right now is Sam Laporta. I think you're not having to pay up for the elite quote-unquote tight ends, but in year 1 when he was a rookie, he showed that he was an elite tight end. Took a step back last year. The team was really, really good. They lose both coordinators this year. They're talking up Jameson Williams. Obviously, the engine of the pass game is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get plenty of targets out of the backfield. So it leaves the question of where is Sam Laporta. But I think on a half PPR site, betting on his touchdown upside, even if he lacks some of the volume of the other guys, I think he's a guy you're going to want to bet on. And again, I'm really invested in that Week 17 game. Lions-Vikings, I think there could be playoff implications on the line. I think both offenses historically over the last couple of years, Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, obviously Ben Johnson, and now John Morton in Detroit, they're going to push the tempo. They can put up points. They're heavy, aggressive teams that are going to kind of push the pace, push the other team. And I think if you get one of those back and forth battles, I think that's going to be a lift, a rising tide lifts all boats type of situations where players on both sides really reap the benefits. And that goes right into my next player for round 8, a guy that I like specifically in this half PPR format on Underdog, Jordan Mason. Earlier in the offseason, I was high on him, but I kind of thought that he was going to be a 1B to Aaron Jones. But it sounds like he's going to be, they're going to be neck and neck. They're going to be splitting those touches there in Minnesota. He's going to be the goal line back, which is what you want in half PPR. Kevin O'Connell seems really, keen on using him, probably to preserve the legs. We know that Aaron Jones had a lot of soft tissue and lower body injuries. Jordan Mason, if he's the goal line back on that type of offense, it's going to put up points, push the pace. He's really a target that you want. Of course, it doesn't hurt that he's in that Week 17 game that I keep coming back to, Lions and Vikings. But if he really is seeing 50% of the work and seeing all the goal line touches, and I know that they're talking about even using him a little bit in the pass game, that's a guy that you can take a stab on in round 8. And then, of course, think about what happens if Aaron Jones goes down, which he's known to go down historically. If Jordan Mason absorbs even more touches and he works more on third downs, you can see him getting up to 65, 70% of snaps. I think it's wheels up. He's a young guy. He proved that he could do it last year before injuries kind of, derailed his season. But when he was in there for Christian McCaffrey last year, he was having a great year. And at one point was the RB1 in points per game. Moving down to round 9, kind of alluded to him earlier. I think you got to take a stab on Justin Fields, right? This late, you're not always going to find those dual threat, super, super high ceiling guys, but Justin Fields is right here for you, right? 105.1 ADP. People are scared of the offensive environment, but you look at when he does play, top 5 in, points per drop back. 2022, he had that historic year where he ran for 1,143 yards, 8 touchdowns on the ground. He can do it, right? He's such a cheat code at this point in the draft when it's, picking between wide receiver 5s, running back 4s and 5s. Get Justin Fields on your team. It's best ball, of course. When he does have a stinker of a game, he's not going to hit your lineup. But when he explodes and he has a season where he runs for 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns, you're going to wish that you had him on your team, especially in the triple digits at 105. And as I spoke to earlier with Garrett Wilson, it's not just the rushing production. We saw, again, he supported that 1,364-yard season for DJ Moore. And I think Garrett Wilson is a much more talented player than DJ Moore. Justin Fields can combine those two and sort of give you the best of both worlds through his rushing upside and then supporting a wide receiver 1 in the passing game to keep the chains moving. And if he can put it all together this year, obviously they've invested in him. I don't think they want to go to the backup Tyrod Taylor. I think they're really counting on Justin Fields to play 17 games. And if he does, he's just an absolute smash at this price tag. In round 10, kind of cheating, kind of right on the border, moving his way up right now, I'm going with Tyler Warren. The Colts are absolutely done with the nonsense of the 4 tight end rotation. They're done playing Mo Alley Cox as a pass catcher. They're done rotating in Kylan Granson and all these other guys. Obviously, I think the experiment with Jelani Woods is over as well. I think it's wheels up for Tyler Warren. Not the best offensive environment, not really the 2 quarterbacks that you want to be trusting to get pass targets funneled through when you're talking about Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, but they drafted him in the top 15 for a reason. He showed you historic production last year at Penn State. He's already shown you that they're going to use him on every single snap, every opportunity he can be on the field. He's going to be on the field regardless of personnel situation, whether that's 11 or 12. They've already shown you that in the first preseason game. I think if you're getting a guy like Tyler Warren here outside the 100s, I think he can give you a little bit of that George Kittle light, right? Big physical. He can win after the catch. He gets open easily. Huge catch radius. I think obviously the big question and the reason why he's here again is just the quarterback concerns. But I think bet on the rookie, bet on him to explode down the stretch. Brock Bowers showed us last year, if you're talented enough, if you're good enough, if you're on the field for every down, every snap, every situation, you can overcome poor quarterback play. You can overcome a poor offensive environment. And of course, Brock Bowers, I'm not saying Tyler Warren is him, but he smashed every rookie record. I think we're getting maybe a discount on Tyler Warren because of the uncertainty, but I think you got to take a stab on him here in round 10. Round 11, Ramondre Stevenson. Touchdown guy, half PPR, same sort of Jordan Mason mold where you might get some of that lightning and thunder between him and Trevion Henderson. Ramondre Stevenson is going to be used. Josh McDaniels is going to use him. His body type is a lot closer to Josh Jacobs, who had a workhorse role with Josh McDaniels in Las Vegas. And I think they're going to use him. Just historically, Josh McDaniels has shown he's going to use 2 running backs and he's going to utilize what they do best. He's going to play to their skill set. Ramondre Stevenson is going to get a lot of goal line work. He's going to get a lot of between the tackles work. Obviously, Trevion Henderson is going to be used more creatively, more explosively on outside runs, in the passing game, in the screen game. But I think Ramondre Stevenson, if this is an improved offense, which a lot of people think it is, their defense should be good and keep them in games. That's going to allow Ramondre Stevenson to be sort of game script proof, if you will. If the games are close, he's going to be playing. He's going to be getting the rock in the 4th quarter. And I just think he's shown us in the past that he has touchdown upside. He's a talented guy. He's reportedly shed some weight this offseason. And I think he's a guy that you're going to want to target because you're getting a 70 pick discount from where Trevion Henderson goes. Round 12 is going to be the last one that I do because I think after you get to, pick 144, 150, it's kind of just all a wash from there. You're talking about, you can take those guys in any sort of order. So the guy that I want to take as my round 12 guy, Jake Ferguson, I already sort of hinted at it when I talked about that Dallas-Washington game. They just paid him, big contract extension. So if there was any question about was he going to be ceding snaps to Luke Schoonmaker, was that going to happen? Did they believe in him? They just put all those questions to bed. If they have a poor defense, a poor running game, which I think they're going to have a poor defense and a poor running game, they're going to be passing a lot. People are already hip to the George Pickens thing. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb is going top 5. People think that Dak Prescott's going to push for a 5,000-yard season, possibly 40 touchdowns. If that's happening, you got to take the clear number 3, who's going to be on the field. We're not talking about a third receiver who's going to be on the field, off the field. We're talking about Jake Ferguson, an every down player. Attention's going to be on George Pickens. Attention's going to be on CeeDee Lamb. Jake Ferguson working over the middle of the field. He's already shown over the last few years a rapport with Dak Prescott. So he's a guy that I think you're going to want to be in on at this price. So he's my round 12 flag plant. And if we do get that shootout in Washington in that week 17 game, I think he's going to be a guy that you appreciate having on your team. That's all for me for today. If you've got different flag plant guys that you're taking each round, or a guy that you specifically disagree with on my list of top 12 guys in the top 12 rounds, let me know in the comments below and like and subscribe.